Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Salt Mine Pod Twitch channel here as we are continuing coverage of the North American, well, I guess not open qualifiers anymore, second stage of qualifiers here, the GSL, aka group stage. And boy, folks, do we have a very fun matchup for you today. CCG, the number 3rd seeded squad, for one reason and one reason only. Well, I guess technically two, but mostly it's Bradley. Bradley is officially going to be slotted into the mid lane for this CCG roster as they try to make a run at the NACL promotion tournament. And they'll be taking on number 19 Castleberry, who started pretty darn hot in their Swiss stage as well, but nothing compares, for me at least, to getting to cast again with Mr. Quacks here. Quacks, welcome to the Salt Mine officially. Glad you're going to cover more GSL stage alongside you. And what more is there to say about this matchup, man?
There's a lot to say about this matchup. Obviously, I love, Slayer, that you highlighted that Bradley is back and better than ever after taking a trip to Korea where he ended up getting Challenger. He's back. No longer is he going to be in the top lane. He will be flexed into the mid lane this time around, where he originally was before he joined Team Liquid's Academy team. So really excited to see him back in his original position. And there's going to be a lot of expectations riding on this player, right? Like you said, he is probably the reason they were put so high up in the standings for the North American Challengers League Open Qualifiers. It really does come down to him, but a lot of the rest of the team has some color to them as well, and we saw that last week when we got to cover them. Slayer, Crimson, Yukino, Instinct, and Trevor were all incredible last week as they ended with a 4-1 finish. So a lot of expectations riding on them simply because of their performance last week. And same thing kind of goes for Castleberry as well, right? Most of these players not super accomplished, at least in the open qualifiers scene, but they've come together and really made a deep run. Ended up going 3-2 in the qualifying in the open qualifiers stage, the Swiss stage, only losing to Winthrop and Team Fish Taco, which honestly most teams would probably lose to those two organizations. Those are incredibly accomplished organizations with equally accomplished players on those teams respectively. So yeah, I mean, they deserve to be here, and they're looking to upset the number 3 seed, and it all starts with the first game, which I'm hoping we can get into soon.
Yeah, Castle, it's actually very fun for me. One of the very first splits I ever casted was a Masters Cap Risen League, which Castle, in fact, ended up winning back in the day with TA Black. So to see him come this far forward, able to just push his game to another level, because it's one thing to just, get to an LP marker where you can qualify for the Swiss stage of OQs, right? That's not, it's certainly a big thing to do, right? Big thing to accomplish regardless, with the fact that you're in Challenger, right? You get to the Challenger LP numbers. But to get through the Swiss stage and get to the GSL stage, seated lower than the committee expected you to get, is certainly big. And you mentioned it, right? They only end up losing to Winthrop, and I am blanking on the other one you just said out. Team Fish Taco. So Winthrop and TFT are two big-time teams, right? They also, on the road there, they started 2-0 because they actually took down this really good Lotus roster that if you are able to check out, you can check out, I believe, today or yesterday, one of the 2 days here. And then they went on to take down another. I'm trying to remember who they beat in the first one. Well, I guess so. They beat it was a 19 versus, I believe. Yeah, Wangs. So Wangs is also in here in the groups. So they beat Wangs Revenge and Lotus to almost set themselves up here. And to get here, they had to take down Phoenix 5 with their last win. So Castleberry is certainly one of those teams that's like, hey, very, very high-flying team right now. And you kind of never want to run into those squads, especially with the expectations that CCG brings.
And I think it really is off the back, these wins, being able to qualify for the GSL stage as the number 19 seed really comes off the back of just some immaculate team play. If you look at the drafts that these players and this team have sort of set up for themselves in the past, it really does come down to some immaculate team fight, front-to-back comps, and really the damage being loaded on to Nightstar, this incredibly high mechanically talented player who loves to play things like the Zeri, like the Varus all the time. And really, Castleberry being able to unlock those mechanics by focusing on that bot lane, making sure that he is as comfortable as possible, so that when that mid to late game comes, they can basically just front to back sort of play a protect the puppy kind of comp where Nightstar just gets to continuously shoot everyone with a gun and arrow. It doesn't matter, which is a pretty typical style of game. But the thing is, Castleberry have been doing it so well that they've qualified for GSL. And honestly, CCG, a lot of their strengths came into that mid to late game. We talked a little bit about it last week, but the mid jungle duo of Flocon Yukino was incredible to watch, right? Yukino put on such insane amounts of pressure in that early game. So I think it's definitely fair to say that CCG are more early game focused, whereas Castleberry a little bit more toward those team fights, a little bit more late game focused. So I think those clashing of play styles, that sort of juxtaposition when teams are the strongest, is what's going to make this series a really, really interesting watch.
Yeah, and you talked about it earlier, because I know both of us were able to cover CCG's run in the Swiss stage last week. We got all 5 of those games covered in, and the kind of takeaway we brought there was that this team had challenges already presented to them out the gate, right? Like they already didn't have Bradley. But I do want to sing the praises of Flaucon, because he had some really good games, and I'm sure we'll be seeing him at this level for a while, to be honest with you. But then they lost Instinct, who was already playing sick on the first day, and then it didn't get much better for him on Sunday. So they have to sub in EU Red, who also did a great job. But my point here is, they were already playing with 1 to 2 subs from their main roster. They still end up going.
They were handicapped.
Yeah, they were certainly handicapped. They still end up going 4-1. They look pretty commanding in a lot of those games, and the person we'd look to step up in those games a lot of the time was going to be Crimson, especially that day 2. And man, especially that last game, some of those Yone like mechanics that he showed off were just outstanding.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Crimson had such an impressive week number 1. And I mean, you look at the trajectory of this player as it pertains to tier 3, and he really has been sort of sort of on that slow upward trend of people's radar. And I think CCG has really been where he's able to sort of chisel out a breakout playstyle for himself, really get his name on the map with those picks. Like you mentioned, the Yone, he played a lot of Olaf in the Swiss stage as well. These really high damage picks that he was often put on weak side for, right? Not a lot of attention was paid by Yukino up toward that top side. And so Crimson was oftentimes 1v1ing the enemy top laner and coming out on top, generating not only a lot of prio, but a lot of kills, and usually ending with a gold lead at around that 15-minute mark when he was going to spread his wings and leave the top lane. Super impressive player, and I'm really interested to see how Gygar challenges him with sort of that more team fight oriented style. Things like the Gnar come out for Gygar. So again, going back to sort of that clash of playstyles, I think in top lane it is definitely the most obvious with Crimson and Gygar.
Certainly will be. But speaking about the bot side, I know if it isn't obvious, we're a bit delayed. I'm sure a lot of you watching have the other community streams pulled up as well. Salty Runback's going right now. Aegis is going right now. Running the Rift is also going right now. So they're probably in their games, or at least in their drafts, I'll be honest with you. That's because Castleberry is having an issue. Their support, as it's been told to me, is quite literally MIA right now. So I do know they are getting themselves one of their subs in here. It is Ginqual? Jinqual? One of the two? Ginqual, I think it is. Will be getting in here. He quite literally just needs to get everything set up on this side. So that is going to delay us a bit longer. We're going to throw everything to a short break. But luckily, we have avoided, a massive DQ situation. There shouldn't be a game ban situation. We're going to get as many games of League of Legends as we possibly can, just with a different substitute. But until we get to that draft, folks, please just stick with us through the break, because this will be the first look at one of the new juggernauts of the NACL qualifiers, coming at you guys in just a couple of minutes. Well, that was a short break. Happy to hear it.
Oh yeah.
We got Gigqual in here. You can see him in the support role. CCG on your blue side. This is the Tournament Realm Draft special here we have set up, and we are flying right through already. Get to see where some of these bands come. I like that Ash band from Castleberry because we've already learned, Quacks, that Trevor likes to play it in that support role, and I do know that
Yeah.
Instinct doesn't mind breaking out in the AD carry. It's always a great band on the red side if you are Castleberry.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Castleberry banned more of these long-range bot lane champions that can generate early prio for Yukino. We've seen what Yukino can do with that early priority, right? He really likes to go into the enemy's jungle, really likes to get up in their face and mess with them a little bit. So yeah, just a lot of these long-range oppressive picks that can poke you from, about a mile, maybe 2 miles away. Karma going to be taken off the table, and now CCG mostly focusing down those mid laners, making sure that Aj can't get some of his comfort picks, and they are going to triple ban the mid lane, actually taking away that Twisted Fate to end their B1, to end their first ban phase. Meanwhile, I would expect more bot lane bans. Maybe we'll see something like a Senna banned away. That has been quite a popular B1 pick, especially on the blue side. Maybe something like a Varus as well, I would expect to be slammed in the ban phase. But yeah, probably just going to be a bot lane ban, and it will be the Callista, actually.
Okay, well, that's certainly a champion that I would argue scorned CCG in their Swiss stage. Nori B popped off playing that champion. It's pretty
Definitely.
standard. But Quacks is a great analyst for a reason, and he's about to get vindicated once more. As Senna was left up, Senna is locked in here. Likely, I believe, for Instinct, the question now will become, is this going to be a farming or fasting Senna? Because honestly, Quacks, over the last week or so, basically over the last patch change, we have seen a big rise in the farming Senna. It's
Yep.
not just all fasting Sennas in those bottom lanes anymore.
And Senna is really good in that AD position right now, simply because Senna is able to. And hold that thought, we have a Yuumi lock in here for Castleberry. Ginqual, I haven't checked, but does Ginqual play mid lane? Because if I see a Yuumi lock in, my answer is leaning toward no.
Yeah, I think they're going for the feed the AD play here. They're just gonna really index
Yeah.
Nightstar. I haven't seen a ton of Smolder Yuumi pairing yet. Now that's mostly because I feel like Yumi's not good enough for competitive play at this moment. But I don't even think in
I
my
agree.
solo queue I've seen it very often, to be honest with you.
No, certainly not. Yuumi is definitely not a champion that you see a lot at the moment. But to answer our question on whether or not that's going to be a farming or fasting Senna, we have a Varus lock in here for CCG. So fasting Senna will be the move here for CCG. And now I imagine they're probably going to go for a jungle pick. Xin Zhao is still open. We had a monster performance by Yukino on that Xin Zhao in their first game. I believe they played against.
I believe that was a game up against the 30th seed, which would have been Zora Esports.
Zora Esports. Yep, Zora Esports. We're basically a victim to the Xin Zhao, but it's not going to be a Xin Zhao. Matter of fact, it's not even going to be a jungle pick at all. Bradley gonna lock in that LeBlanc. So first game of the OQs, he's coming out swinging with an aggressive pick.
First game back in competitive play. First game back in NA in that span, and he's going to pick out the LeBlanc, which, yeah, that'll be fun. A lot of fun you can have with that champion. The distortions, you get some pretty good lane prio, and a lot of those matchups, your roamability is very deadly. It's a champion that you have to be pretty good at positioning in fights as well, but so much mischief packed into this mid lane pick. And Bradley just making a statement, right? I mean, you are B3ing a mid lane champion, leaving yourself up to a good amount of counter picks yourself. So in all eyes right here with the Maokai locked in with a Yuumi already, Castleberry have their jungle and bottom lane sorted. They're pretty well set up for 2 counter picks in their solo lanes.
And I think that it also makes sense that they go for a mid lane pick here on B3, right? They banned so many mid laners for the side of Castleberry that they aren't too worried about one of these big counter picks coming through. And it also leaves them room to ban things other than mid lane in that second half. You can see the Udyr banned away by CCG. Going to continue banning away those top laners as Rumble is taken off the table. And now I have to wonder, CB don't have a ton of AP damage, and I would imagine that Castle on this Maokai, probably going to index more toward a tanky build. So my big question is, what do they put in this mid lane? Twisted Fate, Azir, and Hui all taken off the table, and they're hovering Yone.
And they're locking his
Yasuo,
brother.
wow.
Okay. They get the brother locked in
Wow.
here. There's not a ton of knockups. I mean,
No, really.
it's pretty hard to. I mean, these are near pro players, so I would expect
Yeah.
that Ajay is able to time off a Maokai knockup, even though it's that small window. And Briar's the hover here. We're flying through these picks. Volley Bear's locked in with a Renekton, which the Volley will be going jungle, which it has received buffs to the jungle
Yep.
specifically, which I like that pick a lot. We're going to get to see Crimson's Renekton, which we haven't seen this OQs just yet. A lot of good frontline secured there on the back end of the draft there for CCG. They needed it. And the Briar was the hover. The Gragas is the answer to the Renekton. And they definitely needed the AP as well there, Quacks, if you're Castleberry.
For sure. You needed AP in this situation. You were going against Renekton. You were going against Volibear. If you went all AD in that scenario, that Volibear never ever going to die, especially once he gets that Iceborne gauntlet. That Iceborne. But for now, drafts are locked in here. And yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from CCG in particular. A really, really strong comp that scales well. And overall, we talked a little bit about it, but the newly buffed Volibear going to be really useful for catching out specifically this bot lane and this mid lane. Those Q buffs to the movement speed are going to be really good for chasing down some of these enemies, especially Smolder, who, if he uses his flap unwisely, is just going to get hit by the bear slaps over and over. So a very, very I want to say that Castleberry definitely putting this game on sort of a knife's edge. They are definitely at risk of getting simply blown up, especially if this Yuumi Smolder lane does not work. But we'll have to wait and see when we get into the game, because I have not seen a Yuumi in a long time. I'm really curious to see how this pick works out.
Yeah, and what we've seen from CCG already, you talked about in the pre-show, Quacks, is that with how confident they are in Crimson's ability to lane, Yukino is loved to prio bot side pressure as much as possible, and this is a pretty darn good game to continue doing that with a Yuumi and Smolder in position. So Castleberry, they're going to have to see how well they could survive the CCG onslaught towards the bot side, but they are a team here in the GSL stage for a reason, and they've already punched above their weight in the Swiss stage. We'll see just how high up that uppercut can fly in game number 1 here. CCG Castleberry coming at you guys in just a short break. Welcome to Summer's Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1, CCG Esports versus Castleberry. David versus Goliath type matchup at the start of Group B, as both these squads are looking to get to the upper bracket and a playoff spot for promotion. We had a very interesting draft. We're getting a look at Nightstar and Jinqual, the sub, who will not have a fun game, Quacks, in the early game at least.
Certainly not. There is so much poke that are going to come out from this Senna and Varus picks, and honestly, it's going to make for quite a difficult game for this Smolder, but luckily, there's always a bright spot for Smolder, and that is that he's able to scale into the game eventually, as Nightstar actually does a lot of damage to Trevor, a little bit of scrapping happening in this bot lane, forcing this duo of Instinct and Trevor to just go for the recall, as Ginkel barely misses out on canceling Trevor's reset. That would have potentially been a kill onto Trevor or a flash burn because Instinct had finished his reset.
Yeah, and that could have been massive. It is going to be a double Dornan start, by the way. So despite the fact it's been nerfed, Trevor and Instinct realize that they need to put Nightstar and Ginqual down as quickly as possible, knowing the capabilities of Smolder Yuumi together. So I don't hate the start, even despite its nerfs. We do also see that it's a Fleet Footwork, Aje, Yasuo, Hail of Blades, Instinct, Varus, which likely signals lethality to me going forward for CCG.
Lethality is definitely the most likely version, but I want to kind of go back to what you said about the double Doran's Blade. I think that this is really good, not only for the fact that you are going to be bullying out the Smolder Yuumi combo, which is really important, right? You want to get this champion behind as quickly as possible, but also making sure that Yukino has that priority to work with these things like dives, which Volibear loves, especially post 6 when he gets that ultimate. Just being able to constantly dive this Smolder over and over. So setting the Smolder up to be behind at that point when Volibear gets that ultimate would just make the situation from bad to worse. And I can definitely see that being an avenue that CCG want to play for.
There are ways to get leads that are more obvious in the game. Obviously, getting kills in this lane can be advantageous, but I'm glad that you highlighted, Quacks, that pressure constantly in the bot side can set Yukino up for a ton of success on the bot side. He's already looking potentially for this dive. We talked about it.
Yeah, they're
Nightstar
going for
is level 1. Can he get level 2 before they come? They drop barrier, they drop heal, everything to save Nightstar. He flashes away, but First Blood will sing home for CCG in the name of Instinct. We do have a response coming across, though. Castle has jumped back in. Trevor very low, gets a good heal from the Senna Q, but it looks like Castle might look to try and flash forward. Does just face check the brush, but Yukino drops a ton of damage. Now Castle's in danger. Eats a piercing arrow. CCG double up in the bot side.
CCG, they managed to get 2 kills in the bot lane early, both which go on to Instinct. This Varus pick so incredibly volatile to get ahead, and they do that before the crabs even spawn. Slayer, this is a perfect game plan coming out from CCG, and they're executing it immaculately.
2-0 Instinct immediately grabs a serrated Dirk and a tier on back.
Oh,
what an insane power spike, and what just awesome alleviation of pressure that brings for both Crimson and Bradley, who, you know, certainly aren't behind in their lanes, but now they just don't have to worry about it. You can see Bradley's playing a lot more free. He's going to face check and find Castle, but Yukino's actually here first. Castle is without flash. If Bradley can lane this chant, he will get it. The stun comes across. Yukino has a kill. Castle is cut down for a second time.
Beautiful tracking there coming out from Yukino. He knew that Castle took his topside camps. He knew he was still on the bot side. Maokai is a champion that doesn't clear camps very fast, so you know he's still there. And they just collapsed on him with the priority in mid lane. And now this Maokai gonna start out 0-2. This champion that wants to get into the lanes early on, being completely subjugated here before the 5-minute mark.
And it's exacerbated into a 2K gold lead at 5 minutes, which is, I mean, I don't know the mathematical equivalency. That's a big statistics thing. But it's got to be like having a 4K gold lead at 15 minutes later in the game. Just so massive. The item point thresholds that you can already hit, and you're going to look at what it's doing for the bot side, right? I mean, Trevor is playing without a care in the world right now on squishy Senna.
Yeah, he is literally 2v1ing Nightstar and Ginqual, zoning them off of the entire wave. This Smolder 15 CS to 31 in comparison to this Varus so far. And Yukino is still in this bot lane. He's not even done. He wants more. Those grubs are about to tick on the minimap that they're being taken. As you can see, Castle is on them. And that is just going to be a green light for this Volibear to continue diving this, continue diving the dragon and the cat.
And they got no summoners this time. Barrier is the only thing up for Nightstar, and I think Ginqual and Nightstar know exactly what's coming. Reckoning is afoot here. Can they survive it this time? They're going to get teleport across. Trevor takes a ton of turret damage early. Instinct's already low as well. AHJ's going to show up. And actually, it's a greatly played defensive dive there from Castleberry.
Castleberry, yeah, they managed to fend off the dive, but now, I mean, you can definitely tell by the way that Gygar is positioning. He's going down toward that blue side jungle, that this Maokai is probably on that top side, so that's just going to signal for Yukino to go on toward that dragon. This is a mountain dragon. You love to see this, as Nightstar almost just dies to the combo of Instinct and Trevor. This is such an oppressive lane.
They're getting tricky with the death brushes now. Yeah, it's like you were mentioning, it's basically a full vertical jungle game at this point. Something Yukino is very content to do, but quietly I think Castle is also a fan of, because he's not only been able to catch up, being down a couple of those camps, getting killed off twice in his own jungle, but he's actually taken a bit of a camp lead. And that is the one benefit to being on the other side of massive bot lane pressure if you are Castle. But the other ugly head of it is that your bottom lane is just going to get killed off as the dive comes once more. They drop exhaust on Yukino. How can they juggle the turret aggro? Trevor does that massively well. Instinct will have to flash away, but they got the target they wanted. They don't care about that pesky cat. Nightstar falls for a second time.
Yeah, and they managed to get the play along with it. You can see Castle maybe looking for something in case Yukino tries to go a little bit aggressive, and he might have.
He's caught. He's dead. Ginqual will get the kill. And there's a bit of a bite back for Castleberry, finally on the board with a kill of their own.
They managed to get a kill, but it's going on to the Yuumi. It's not the champion that you want to see that gold go toward, but we'll just have to wait and see what Castleberry can do to sort of stop the bleeding that has persisted in this bot lane. I mean, you can see Castle, he's trying so hard to make sure that this bot lane can stay safe, but they've been under tower all game. Yukino quite literally hasn't left the bot side the entire game, hasn't even taken his top side. That was up for Castle to do. And it really is just Castle having to play in accordance to this Volibear constantly being around this bot side.
You know what's also ballooned the lead is the fact that we talked about how CCG likes to play, leaving their solo lanes to their own devices. While they don't have any kills, Bradley and Crimson have both gotten 20+ CS leads, more than a kill's worth of gold CS leads to their own up against their matchups. So this is textbook how CCG want to play to win games, at least at this stage of the qualifiers.
It's even more impressive in Bradley's case because a lot of people complain that, you know, the weakest part of LeBlanc, and speaking of LeBlanc, Bradley might be in trouble.
Bradley's first test, flashes over the wall, gets flashed onto, goes for the distort, gets the clone out, but Bradley will have another dash and tote, and that's why you can't gank LeBlanc with all cooldowns up.
And flash down there for Castle. He expended it to try and follow up with Bradley. Luckily, does have the Hex Flash available, so not the end of the world for this Maokai, but certainly not a worth it trade. Bradley also did have to expend his flash as well, so 1-for-1 in the flash department. But LeBlanc is LeBlanc, still tricky to catch.
Trevor just does not care about Castleberry whatsoever. He's up in their jungle, 2v1ing. He will get poked out here. But the desperation started to come through for Castleberry, or at least some sort of a switch here. They're immediately, with turret plates up, going to switch their bottom lane and mid lane and have Ajed try and sit bot just to keep that turret alive for as much time as they want. But we have some fighting in the top side with Yukino and Castle running into each other by the tier 1 turret. Crimson has everything available to him, Dominus, but the one thing he doesn't hold is a lane pushing in. Yukino is going to try and grab it, proxy it a bit. Dawning Shadow going just as a bit of a foreshadowing precursor. Ginqual is here, like you mentioned. Quacks trying to look to see who can jump onto, and actually the cat might be enough to dissuade the dive for CCG. I don't know, Yukino's pretty aggro, still around there. But look at all the pressure they're getting for to the bot side.
Yeah, turret taken at less than 10 minutes. Instinct getting all 5 plates along with the 3 kills he already has. But they're going in for the
turret off. Great body slam though. Crimson doesn't get on to the castle in time, and it's going to be a double turn here for Castleberry. Bradley, the only one to survive the escapade, and these dives are getting sloppier and sloppier for CCG minute by minute.
CCG, really unnecessary dive there. I feel like they could have probably just taken the gold that their bot lane got and just left, but they wanted to try and get a kill. They got one. They managed to take down Castle, but he's 0-3-3. You definitely don't get a lot of gold for killing the Maokai at this point, and you certainly don't get more gold than Castleberry got for taking down 2 of your members, so definitely an overstep there from CCG. Still in about a 3k gold lead, so still in a commanding presence in this game. Definitely still ahead, but not something you want to see from this squad.
Give 2 of those kills over to Geiger on this Gragas, too, who will certainly benefit from it. He immediately slams the... Why am I forgetting the name of that? Roa, yeah. So that one's already completed. He'll be able to stack that one up. Very nice for him. Bit of an avenue now for Castleberry. I do like that Yukino immediately called to make sure to even out that grub count, though.
Absolutely. I think now neither team going to get any of the Void Mites. And while we're on the topic of, you know, big buys and big items coming in for key players, Instinct now has that Yomu's Ghost Blade complete. A lot of people have been questioning this pick since it has gotten nerfed, and a lot of people say that it is simply better, that it is simply a worse version of Opportunity. I still think that it's good on some of these immobile AD carries, like the Misfortune, like the Varus, and Yukino maybe looking at Castle.
Okay. Nature's Grasp already dropped down. Yukino very happy to get that key ultimate out. It's great! Explosive cast. Instinct is caught. Has to immediately cleanse the body slam stun. Ultimate suspended on all sides.
That could have been really bad if Instinct got cast into the entire team. If he didn't cleanse there, and that was a dead Varus, not only would you have given up a massive gold bounty to whoever got it, but you also probably would have lost that dragon as well that has now spawned. You can see a bit of a lie on the top left. This is not a mountain dragon. This is going to instead be a other dragon. But they are going to probably take it. You can see Yukino just taking that uncontested. And yeah, I mean, Castleberry, they don't have any resources to contest this at all. Hextech Dragon acquired here for CCG.
Okay, both these top laners. I'm curious who actually has the edge in this matchup at this point now, because Aaron Geiger has 2 of those kills. We will get an Ocean Soul, which is going to be very valuable for any squad that can grab it. We do have Mom dropping down in the mid lane. Yukino's going to find Geiger in the jungle as well, and it has not been Castleberry's jungle all game long, but they're looking to turn it around as Yukino just immediately gets popped. Crimson will find the immediate trade onto Geiger. Daunting Shadow helping out on that one, and the little skirmish ends up splitting even.
They wanted to punish Castle for overstepping. Yukino falls for it, but they managed to trade a kill 1-for-1, and Geiger is the sacrificial lamb. We're talking about how this Gragas was slowly scaling up, right? Had the Rod of Ages, could have been a shining ray of hope for Castleberry here after they've been basically oppressed the entire game. But managing to take down that champion, knock it down a peg, definitely going to help CCG in the long run. And now, you can see Bradley has been in this top lane for a really long time. Ajay has basically been, you know, reserved to trying to deal with this LeBlanc. LeBlanc, though, officially has the Luden's companion acquired, will start to deal a lot more damage. So this Yasuo definitely going to take the short end of the stick in a lot of these trades while defending this tower.
So it doesn't know that Bradley's opted for the cooldown boots, knowing that there aren't a ton of members on Castleberry that will heavily prioritize magic resist. I mean, Castle's going to be the obvious one, but I like that he's not going for the Sork Shoes basically just to prevent for a tank. He wants the extra cooldowns to be able to get as many dashes, as many distorts down as possible.
Castle on the side.
Oh, and Geiger, yeah, looking for a pick. Great flash, though, from Instinct. Means the explosive cast sends him back towards his turret. And everybody going to walk away. A key summoner, though, once again off Instinct.
But the key summoner as well off of Geiger doesn't have the flash, so can't do a flash body slam combo onto the backline of CCG. That is a really good engage tool, especially for getting Ajay into the fight, being able to follow that flash that E flash along with an explosive cask. So definitely takes away the engage power, some of the engage power that Castleberry have with the solo lane synergies. And we'll just have to wait and see if they can engage a fight or if they're going to be forced to play Turtle around this top side, which it looks like CCG are just looking to take down this tower.
And no, Castle doesn't have Nature's Grasp. Really just nerfs Maokai's powers. Crimson knows Geiger doesn't have Explosive Cask, so he's trying to go in as well. And the tempo is just as much accelerated as possible from CCG. They do not want to let go of this gold lead, knowing what scaling could mean for this game state up against Castleberry.
I also think that Castleberry, you know, they have a little bit of scaling in themselves, not just the Smolder, right? But I mean, someone we haven't touched on a lot about in this game, but someone I'm really surprised we haven't actually talked about is Ajay on this Yasuo, right? This really is the champion. This really is the player that it feels like Castleberry are indexing to in this late game to make sure that they are ahead, as Nightstar going to take a little bit of damage coming out here from Trevor. But yeah, this Yasuo 0-0-0, so has not really fallen behind in this game. If they can get to, you know, that 2 to 3 item mark on this pick, team fights are going to be a lot easier, I feel, for Castleberry. But until that point, it's kind of going to all be CCG.
Trevor is doing a really good job stacking. He was up to about 63, and you want to get 20 every 5 minutes on fasting Senna. So he is right about on par with this, and it's to be expected with the lane that he had, the zero pressure lane for a Senna. But Trevor really could be the neutralizer for a lot of the pick potential. But here comes a pick going out on top of Nightstar. Not enough damage to the Yuumi healing, and now Geiger is teleported in. This explosive cast, will it be enough to kill off Instinct? It should be. One more bop from the Gragas will get it. They trade out Nightstar in the background, but a great knockup. Ajay pops right on top of Yukino, and here comes Castleberry. Crimson and Bradley just not in time for the party.
Yeah, Castleberry and Bradley, like you said, late to the fight, didn't have the TPs available. Bradley actually didn't use his TP to enter the fight. He figured he could get there in time, but the remaining members of Castleberry, they just blow up Instinct. The main point of damage is removed from this CCG squad, and now resets coming across the board. Gold is being spent. You can see that Castleberry, they've gotten down some wards around this dragon area. This ocean dragon gonna spawn in about 20 seconds here. Both teams likely want to fight it, but I feel like Castleberry, they used a lot of ultimates in that exchange. Crimson still has the Dominus available, so that is a major frontline threat that you might not be able to deal with the lack of ults you have to be able to take care of this Renekton. So I'm not sure if Castleberry actually want to fight this.
Bradley's starting to hit like a truck as well. Ajay, though, off the item power spike, likes his odds as well. But teleport advantage to Bradley, like you mentioned about that Drake call. And with that looming or large, the bottom lane not having their ultimates up, no Nature's Grasp, Castle makes the decision to try and maybe pick off Bradley, but they're going to sack Soul Point here in the play. And Bradley just distorts right back under turret. So no real punish for CCG, hitting Ocean Soul Point at 18 minutes.
Castle on the top side as well means that there are 2 members of Castleberry top lane there. So now you can send the remaining members bot lane or mid lane, try to pressure, get this mid lane tower that has been bugging you for so long. Nightstar, the lone member with the Yuumi in this mid lane to try and hold it off.
Good use of the flap, as you call it there, Quacks, to dodge out Shades of Corruption, because Nightstar might have just dropped if he got hit by that one.
Absolutely.
But it does drop another turret as well, so despite the fact Castleberry have done a great job to fight back in the kill department, they are still staring down a 5k gold deficit and objective bounties.
And all tier 1 turrets taken away from Castleberry, so they lose a lot of that vision line that they were hoping to gain off of winning that fight where they picked off Instinct. It is basically just completely removed, as now you can see, yeah, Trevor placing a ton of wards in that top red side jungle of Castleberry, so no members really able to enter there without CCG's knowledge. They have to be careful trying to contest this topside push with 3 members of CCG on it.
They'll rotate up Ajay, but they, like you mentioned with that vision line, don't have a ton of great idea how many members of CCG are actually up here. Rift Herald is still in the hands of Yukino. I gotta think this is just a Rift Herald slam, or do they believe they could take it without it? And they'll actually end up doing neither here, so they're gonna hold on to good old Shelly. But I gotta think it's not gonna be available for much longer for Yukino.
Certainly not. I mean, I think that the Herald was taken, what, about 4-ish minutes ago? So it is certainly ticking down there. And I feel like, I agree with you, Slayer. I think that they should just use it now, right? Not a lot of members of Castleberry are on this side of the map.
Oh, but they're going for Crimson. Is that the right choice? He has Dominus everything up, and Crimson, scoffing at the play, nearly turns it. Ajay's going to fall to Yukino. Mom dropped down for Nightstars. He's trying to drop down the damage, but the Smolder doesn't hit like a truck just yet. Finally, they'll find a kill onto Yukino, but the reinforcements have arrived. Great explosive cast will knock Bradley out of his combo. Instinct can't get any more damage down, and Geiger might have just saved the fight for Castleberry.
Geigar manages to dissuade the members of Castleberry. They find a pick onto Yukino, but look at this top side. Trevor pushing away, manages to get a turret and almost takes down the base turret. They're looking on Trevor.
I think he might have a shot at this one if you get the autos down, but he's getting brunted, and Geiger's damage is too much. Trevor will fall, but like you mentioned, it nearly cost Castleberry everything to even fight in the mid lane.
I mean, it was a 4v5, and it was an overall even trade. CCG just showing that they are stronger in the team fight at this point. Yukino, crucially, now has that Knight's Vow, so will have that more supportive item to help out Instinct in these team fights. This is a really interesting build coming out from Yukino. Usually we talk about him being, you know, the big carry that loves to make use of priority, but Yukino has definitely been more of a facilitator in this game, really allowing Instinct and Bradley, you know, the former tier 1 and tier 2 players, to shine into this game. And honestly, it seems to be working.
Certainly is. I mean, the gold lead's ballooned. They have complete control over both the neutral objectives at this point. Barely any vision for Castleberry, pushing up past their, I want to say, Wolves line, stuff like that. Castle, though, looking to change that.
Castle, I don't know. I feel like, especially with a champion like a Maokai, you would expect that the vision is at least even in this regard, right? With those saplings providing so much pressure around that area. As yeah, Slayer, you're highlighting it. Oh, hang on, we have a fight. Yukino in the middle of all of them.
All right, that's the Volibear. He likes being in front of everybody, but not if his team can't find a trade out. He will drop. Great shot. Trevor will snipe Castle, and it was all a ruse because Crimson has broken the Castleberry base open on the other side. Inhibitor turret for Yukino. CCG take that 7 times a week.
And Geigar is forced to be in this top lane, and you can see the remaining members of Castleberry, they're forced to be under their tower. They cannot step up, and this is going to give such a good timer for CCG to establish vision around this dragon spawning in 30 seconds. But we have a TP coming out from Geigar.
Another great flank coming out from Geiger. Doesn't get a great explosive cast, but he is pushing Instinct and Trevor back. Teleport coming through. Crimson looking to join the party. And now Castleberry might be caught on the wrong side of this river. With the low health bars, CCG gonna let them out.
Both junglers from both teams also respawning, so this could end up being a smite fight. You can see that there is a decent amount of red vision around this dragon area, so Castleberry certainly not entering this fight blind, but they are entering outgunned, that is for certain. So they have to be careful to pick off some key members. Bradley in particular needs to go down, but how can you catch a LeBlanc?
Oh boy, they're getting pinched. Geiger's in a great position himself, though. Explosive cast not up just yet. Dangerous Grass just coming back online for Castle. All ultimates up except that Dawning Shadow for CCG. This fight could really decide if CCG are able to call a game or if Castleberry have more fight left in them. They'll be pushed out of the river. They're losing a ton of that vision. And this is just such a precarious spot to be in. There's the Nature's Grass drop down. They can't get any of those priority targets. Yukino body blocks for his 2 marksmen very well. And now Castle is just left out in no man's land, getting poked out. Finally has to go in. Yukino is calling for it. Bradley jumping forward, gets an easy distort. Aja dies in an instant. Nightstar has no friends left. The barrier of fleeting hope of salvation will be shut down by Instinct. CCG find their fight and grab Ocean Soul as their victorious prize.
And CCG, they managed to find the pick onto Castle, completely left out in the cold. They get themselves the soul, and now they're gonna pivot onto the Baron. And CCG, they've had this game, their names written all over it. A couple of missteps here and there, but they have been dominant here in their first game of GSL, and they are showing their colors here with their full squad in tow.
Committee seeded this specific version of CCG as the number 3 seed of OQ2. We're starting to see why here. An uncontested Baron at 24 minutes. A gold lead ballooned over double digits. Ocean Soul. It's going to take a real big misstep in my mind, Quacks, for this game to swing any more back towards Castleberry.
For sure, and now Instinct has 3 items. Opportunity picked up for the Varus, so lots of lethality. And, you know, lethality now, flat armor shred, so it is going to be very dangerous for Castle and Geigar to step up toward this Varus. Doesn't have Flash, though, so I will say, Castleberry, they have a chance to find this Varus. He is still an immobile champion, but with how much frontline Yukino and Crimson have been providing in this game, it just seems so impossible to get to it. But there is always a chance.
There is certainly a reality where this game could go sideways for CCG. We get a better look at their sieging ability. Bradley has been doing an outstanding job on these side lanes, creating as much pressure as possible. Trevor, by this point, has got to be, in my mind, at 100 souls. I would guess. Yeah, 113.
113.
At 25 minutes is certainly right where you want to be on that fasting Senna as well. And now they've knocked down every single turret outside the walls of the Castleberry base, and they're not done.
Yep, they're doing basically a 2-3 split. 3 members in this bot lane, 2 members, the solo laners in the mid lane, just continuing to thin out the members of Castleberry, who just cannot seem to find an angle. But Ajay is potentially looking.
They want Trevor, they want instinct. Castle's going for it, he knows it's cleaning. They do finally get Trevor. Can they drop the damage down in time? There's the kill followed through. There's a great pick for Castleberry, and they might have a shot at Yukino as well. Has to Stormbringer out of the own fight. And a great pick. But yeah, like you mentioned time and time again, it's the cross map for CCG.
They managed to break open the base of Castleberry, but it looks like Geigar has Flash, could potentially look on Yukino, but the Gromp is blocking.
Body block. Geiger gets slowed as well by the Varus E. They won't take any more. It's an inhibitor turret traded for a big-time shutdown onto Trevor, and at this point in the game, the stake that we're in for Castleberry, that's a win.
For sure, Castleberry, you know, they managed to get a kill. They managed to find Trevor, but they lose their base in return. They lose a turret, and now Inhibitor is next on the menu for CCG. However, it is going to be a little bit until that Elder Dragon spawns and that Baron spawns, so it's going to really be up to CCG to force some of these fights, and it feels like it's always been Castleberry engaging on these, and CCG sort of being able to react to it in a time, sort of coming out with a bigger punch. But I think it's their turn to engage a fight. They need to go in with Crimson and Yukino, and they might have found Geigar.
Yeah, Yukino's looking to throw out a punch, but a claw here. Trying to get the stun down onto Geiger. They don't get the Senna root. Should be safe for now. The game might begin to stall out a bit. No inhibitors are down. The wave clear is definitely good enough for Castleberry. But Elder is the call in game sort of buff in this game of League of Legends, and it is less than 2 minutes away. You give that one up, we've seen it. Even the best of teams are forced to just cower under their own turrets.
And speaking of an Elder buff, I really want to check in with Nightstar stacking on this Smolder.
Great point.
That 225 mark might be coming up here, and he's actually exceeded it. So 260 stacks on the Smolder pick, has the execute unlocked. So this champion has officially hit its spike, has 2 items. Bradley potentially looking to poke down Geigar, as Yukino maybe looking for a fight, but it just doesn't seem like any team wants to engage here.
All right, ooh, great distort to get away from the explosive cast once more, but Nature's Grasp will
might
grab him.
pick.
He flashes, he still gets called. They're going all in for Bradley. Shut down again, found from Castleberry. CCG seemingly have no great answer. Chains of Corruption drops, but they have Crimson on the flank. This could be his moment. Dominus pop. They're picking them off one by one. Flashes galore. Can Castleberry get away? They have succeeded. They dropped their mid laner, but it's once again a good trade.
They managed to find one, the main source of damage. Ajay down for about 30 seconds here. They are going to look for the inhibitors, 4 members strong. Probably just gonna look for a double inhibitor. Probably don't want to chance going for these inner turrets. And now Baron about 45 seconds away. They're just gonna set up for that, establish vision in that area, and leave Castleberry to sort of pick up these waves, pick up the scraps of the war that CCG have been winning this entire game.
Great recognition from CCG that they had the health bar advantage. They could get away with both those inhibitors. They also, you see Bradley channeling it now, but he had teleport available in case anything got a little hectic on the back end of that fight. But with those supers pushing in top, specifically Quacks, it makes the setup for an Elder for Castleberry just so much more difficult.
For sure. I mean, they have their ultimates back up again.
Oh!
Bradley!
Good tag recognition that he can take Castle wherever he wants with him, but They have a teleport coming out as well. Great answer. Ult for ult there. Yukino doesn't get thrown back into the brunt of Castleberry. Ajin is teleported in here. We got all 5 here. Castle's looking for it once more. Eats a chance of corruption in the face. His Nature's Grasp once again will fall onto deaf ears. And Castleberry have run out of all key ultimates. They're looking for Bradley, though. They get the body slam catch. Bradley distorts right back out. Crimson in the middle of all of the backline, trying to find the trade, but it's the front line to fall first. Trevor picks one up. Mob can't save you now. Smolder, Crimson on a killing spree. Nightstar and Jinqual, the only thing left for Castleberry and CCG. They won't need Elder. They don't need any more time on the clock. They're looking to punch a 1-0 ticket in this GSL stage.
And a clean game coming out from CCG. A few dives here and there going wrong. A few picks happened to them. But for the most part, they are showing with their full squad of players. They are showing why they are the 3rd seed, as Trevor just going to mess with Jinqual a little bit there before shooting him. Throwing him to the fountain, throwing him to the gray screen where the rest of the team is. And it is 1-0 for CCG.
Can't say that wasn't a bit of an expected result there, Quacks, but boy, was it certainly fun to watch nonetheless. And this game, you mentioned it, right? They end up winning by about 13,000 gold. You have Instinct, who started out 2-0, singing home. Great to see him back, 6-1-8 on this Varus. And you know it's a good game for CCG when, stat-wise, their bottom lanes are the ones that really sing home, because they still have Crimson, they still have Bradley in the tank that could certainly put on those carry pants if needed.
For sure, and I mean, usually we talk a lot about how much Yukino loves to play around these bot side lanes, and that is exactly what he did, right? A beautiful early game, really drove this entire game home from minute 3, managing to get 2 kills onto Instinct, like you said, Slayer, and then just continuing that pressure in bot, cutting the map is exactly what CCG wanted to happen. And just a flawlessly executed early game leads them into a bright mid and late game, and it leads them to a bright blue screen with the word of victory on top of it. And they're going to look for several more just like that. And it's going to be up to Castleberry to sort of put a stop to this momentum that CCG have already built up for themselves.
Give some credit to Castleberry. I mean, they could have folded at a lot of different points in this game, and they were able to still play the comp they wanted to. Castle had a lot of great entries on this Maokai. Geiger on this Gragas was also able to pick off Instinct at points. He got Bradley set up for Ozjed Yasuo to sing it home. It was just too little too late. So hopefully they can carry some of those shining moments with some momentum into this game number 2. They will have side selection, folks. We're going to go to a quick break as all that gets sorted out. But on the other side, we'll see if CCG have the marks of a third-seeded squad and are breaking out the brooms, or if Castleberry are going to continue to shock the Tier 3 NA community with a big-time win. One of those two is coming your way after this break. Back in action here, folks, with CCG versus Castleberry getting on to game number 2 here. And two quick things, Quacks, we got to talk about. Same sides, and Barlow is back.
Barlow is here. He has returned. Castleberry playing with their full 5 squad of players. Meanwhile, CCG, after an impressive game 1 of playing with their full 5 squad of players, looking to run it back and be just as dominant as they were in game number 1. And it's going to be up to Castleberry to stop them in their tracks. We have already made our way onto the draft. Azir being taken off the table first.
Good first ban there. Keep in mind, people, this is Fearless. I know, unfortunately, the Salt Mine is new to this whole being cleared to cast GSL stage stuff, so our production budget doesn't include the Fearless package just yet, so we'll have to inform you that Fearless is in packed here. So, the same 5 champions you saw from last game cannot be played by their respective squads, so that means that Senna is off the table for CCG, to point that one out. Smolder is off the table here for Castleberry, but the opposing sides could, in fact, select those if they want to. And I'm curious to see just exactly. It looks like we might have actually completely. I don't know what's happening with these bans. And just like that, you guys don't get to see lobby, and the draft has failed. So, give us a bit more time to talk about Fearless, Quacks. I'm curious. Are you expecting to see some of those like high-proud champions I mentioned banned away from these respective sides so that the other team doesn't have to play them? Doesn't get to play them, I mean?
I certainly think so. I mean, I would imagine that they keep some of the bans. In particular, I think we'll probably see the TF banned away. We already saw the Azir banned away as well. But I would imagine that just as much respect is going to be paid over to Aj as it was in game number 1. Obviously, getting triple banned in that first phase. I wouldn't expect anything different here in game number 2. But I mean, CCG are on the blue side, so if they want to take one of those big priority picks away, that is certainly an option. But one Fearless pick in particular that I am really, really looking at for CCG to sort of respond to.
Oh, I think we might have. Did I just lose? Quacks, you might have lost your microphone there for a second. I don't know what's happening. We could see you. I can't hear you right now, so I don't know if that's a me issue or a you issue. What's going on there? It's unfortunate because I love hearing Quacks talk about his points. So it looks like I also don't have word exactly what's going on with the lobby here. Oh, it looks like, okay, Castleberry are coming back. So we should be getting into draft soon here. Luckily, Quacks is not missing much while he's messing with his microphone. I can also try some tech tips here is, hey, we're on to draft. So I'll throw us on over here. Let me try something really quick to see if, oh, I know. It's 100% a me issue. Hold on a second, folks. Quacks, I have scorned you. I believe it was a Discord issue on my end. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. So we just got punished by Discordia. Okay. Cool. All right. So luckily we didn't miss anything. Quacks, we're back into the draft here, and looks like Castleberry have figured out how to ban champions.
Yep, for sure. Both champions being banned away, and CB keeping their relatively the same bans. Obviously, not wanting the bot lane of Instinct and Trevor to push them in with these more long-range, oppressive picks like the Ashe, like the Karma. Actually, going to take away the Smolder now as well, as Castleberry, because we're in Fearless, do not have access to that. So CCG could opt to take that one away. But I'm thinking that CCG, you have a Twisted Fate unbanned, a really big power pick here in the meta, but instead of Twisted Fate, they're actually going to go straight for the mid lane. They're going to go for the Orianna. So now, my big question on who the next champions are going to be for CCG is, who do they pair up as sort of a ball delivery system? I can imagine things like Xin are possible, like Jarvan are possible, champions that really want to get into the middle of the fight, not just for jungle, but for top as well.
You also got Nocturne there. I still think he's a good pick with how you can kind of finagle yourself to get extra range on the ball with his ultimate. You can mess it up. I've seen him messed up many times afoot, but
me too.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Hui, I like this immediate answer. I think he is just so good at scaling. His damage becomes borderline broken, in my opinion, with some of these severing bolts that he can drop down. And the fact that he can do it from so far back and stay relatively safe while giving himself, self-peel, self-healing, self-mana regen, whatever you name it, man. This guy's got 100 billion abilities. So it's always going to be a good pick. Like you were talking about the Orianna, I think is one of the safest mid lane picks. You wanted to get Bradley on a comfort pick. that is going to be safe in lane, that's going to be able to impact team fights, why not? And now you can get into your bottom lanes where, wow, CCG really have a plan here for this one. Kalista already locked in. You have a Taric as the hover. Yesterday, I was able to watch a very, very good Taric game from Polestar, and immediately that goes out the window,
Yeah.
as I think Renata would be a better option with Kalista.
Renata is absolutely an amazing option. Kalista Renata is the quintessential aggressive levels 1 through 5 aggressive lane in the bot lane. So Yukino, Bradley, gonna get a ton of priority with this. Really gonna try oppressing this Rakan and whoever it's paired up with. That might be a Hui ADC. And just as I say that, I jinx it, as it looks like Ajay is going to lock in the Zeri. That's gonna go over to Nightstar. And this is a huge comfort pick here for Nightstar. He loves playing this champion. This really was the champion that CB put on this guy to unlock his insane mechanics, right? He had a lot of breakout performances on Zeri, who is recently buffed as well, right? So Zeri is a very strong ADC in the meta. A lot of people are picking her up again. And players like Nightstar who love those pop-off moments, who love to show their mechanical prowess, it's a no-brainer in this comp, I think.
Certainly, I agree wholehearttly with you there, Quacks. Nocturne, the immediate first ban there coming out from Castleberry, love it. I mean, I would just immediately slam Zen or J4 here. I mean, yeah, those are pretty good options. You can try and pinch Crimson's pool, but he has so many of them available to him. They're actually going to go and take away Yukino's Kindred, which I think just leaves them up, unless they're going to pick one of J4 or Zinzao. I mean, this is the easiest slam of one of those two champions for Yukino on the turn I've seen in quite a while.
I think that Bel'Veth might also be a possibility here for Yukino. I've seen him play it a little bit in solo queue as well. He recently got rank 1, playing champions like Bel'Veth and Kindred. So I think Yukino, he knows how to play the character. Very, very, very tight with the objectives. Loves to take those dragons. Loves especially to take those grubs. But instead, it looks like we are just potentially going to be locking in different picks. Instinct hovering over a lot of them. But really, I think you have to pick a gigantic engage champion here. Something like the Jarvan would work. Nidalee could also work if you want some more AP damage. But I would imagine that's probably going to be paired up with Renekton. But Renekton is taken away from Crimson. He can't play this one, and it is going to be the Poppy finally.
I would have really liked to have seen the Wukong personally. I'm once again going to be calling back to what I saw yesterday out of the very fun ISU Polestar series. But Reppy and Cry were quite literally called game and series off of a bombastic, we'll use that adjective as I have to go back to the pool, Orianna Wukong combo to call game there. They go with the Poppy. That's a great answer to Xin Zhao, right? Just a great answer to anybody that's trying to dash forward and has dashes in general. Great for Rakan as well, so I understand the pick there. And of course, it's not a CCG game without Crimson picking one of the many carry champions for himself, and he's going to lock in the Darkened Demon Aatrox.
And Darkened Demon Aatrox, indeed. This is the type of champion that Crimson loves to pick up. And on the other side, Gygar going to take his turn and say it's my turn to play the Renekton here in game number 2. So a very volatile matchup here in the top lane. And you have two junglers that love to get around the map, love to fight, love to gank for that matter. And so I'm imagining that it's going to be a lot of action here on the side lanes. This Aatrox and Renekton matchup is going to be one we're going to have to pay attention to. But on the other side, you have Kalista Renata, you have Zeri Rakan. These are also two bot lanes that, when ahead, can really flip a game over to the side that has them. So we'll have to wait and see just what the junglers are thinking, because I certainly think that there are many ways for them to play this game. And the mid laners, probably just going to be chilling for the most part, waiting for those team fights to break out, waiting for those big shockwaves and those big spiraling despairs. That's probably when their time to shine will become the most obvious.
Certainly. But I do think, once again, it's kind of a repeat scenario of game number 1, because while I do think Rakan has a lot more early agency than maybe the Yuumi did, Zeri definitely needs time, is weaker early on, and it's once again CCG indexing early in the bottom lane with a jungler that can impact early once more. So I'm curious to see if Castleberry can find a way to sort of survive what I think is just going to be another kind of chapter, a similar chapter to game number 1 from CCG's early game. And they have the soul lanes to play out 1v1, like you mentioned, pretty well. But there's only one way to figure all that out, folks. And it's another intermission for you guys. It's a spectator delay for us here on the production casting desk. On the other side, though, we'll see if Castleberry can defy the 2-0 that many around this community handed towards them in this upper bracket matchup, or if CCG are going to stamp their way a little bit closer to promotion glory that they've desperately craved all qualifiers long. Stick right with us. Just like that, we are back on to Summoner's Rift. Castleberry looking to throw down one hell of a smackdown to push this game. Series 2-3, CCG on the other side. Once again, indexing for early game bottom pressure. Looking to get to the upper bracket in record time.
30 seconds until minions.
Certainly, and already you can see that Nightstar and Barlow in that pixel bush, potentially looking for a little bit of a cheeky play, maybe trying to get some early deep vision in the jungle, but don't want a chance having to face check into a Kalista Renata, the powerhouse quintessential bot lane that loves to go aggressive, especially at that level 1 through 3. And game number 1, I'm getting a little deja vu here. Levels 1 through 3 really was the time where this CCG squad got ahead in game 1. The dive coming out from Yukino. now on the Poppy, so certainly a chance to repeat that same success that they had in game number 1. They still have that dive potential, especially with the bailout being able to help them from Renata.
Such an impactful ability. And just turn, it really can turn games. Renata is one of those champions that has 2 abilities that can kind of just massively impact games, and it's what makes her such a fun champion to watch. Speaking though about that bot side pressure, you can see they're already stepping up. They're telling Nightstar, you don't get to the wave first. We're gonna make sure to tax you for that one. I also see Yukino starting top side. I would highly expect that he does not full clear here. Some sort of 3 camp so he can immediately get down here and continue applying pressure.
And I like what Castle is doing as well, starting the Wolves, immediately going to the blue and probably the Gromp. He's looking to maybe get to the bot lane before Yukino can. He knows that this Poppy wants to generate pressure on this bot lane, or at least cover it. So there is definitely potential for a very early 3v3 fight to happen here in the bot lane if the junglers meet each other. We'll have to wait and see, as both teams just gonna keep laying down poke on each other. Ajay just bullying Bradley a little bit on the Orianna.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be in a poke war. We won't really see any real major fireworks unless somebody missteps or a jungler shows up. Yukino proves me right as I continue to try and learn jungle paths as the play-by-play caster. He does look like he's 3 camping, just grabs the red buff and immediately, maybe he isn't 3 camping. Oh no. He will.
Oh, he is.
Let's go.
But now, you can see the pings. He's looking to go deep in Castle's jungle, but all of those camps are taken, and Castle just going to channel a recall here. Might actually miss the dive, but no, he cancels it.
Oh, he spots Trevor going up forward as well. Level 2, Castle level 3. They're just looking to burn down Trevor. Great handshake, though. Hits all 3. Trevor will still fall, but now he set up Yukino to show up. Bunch of flashes blown. Castle is out in deep water. Will fall. Instinct hopping around. Forces Nightstar to flash away. Barlow looking to do the same. Getting closer and closer to death. The red nearly finds him. But first blood in the hands of Castleberry when everything settles.
And Castleberry, immediate adaptation to what happened in game number 1. They knew the dive might come out from Yukino, and they didn't want it to happen again. They managed to find a kill for Nightstar, so a huge player to keep your eyes on, like we said, on this Zeri pick. Get some early gold. And they just don't want the pressure that was exerted in game 1 to happen to them in game 2, and they are willing to change it up. They're willing to change things up in order to make that happen.
Nightstar getting first blood on Zeri. Could prove very pivotal. Instinct, though, does get the trade kill himself. So he will also be very much online. Gets that Vamp Scepter completed and will be able to get back to his lane first and not miss really any of these minions. But the junglers are going to clash once more, Quacks.
Yeah, I mean, Yukino has red buff, so he has, that extra buff to try and do some damage, but Castle, on the Xin Zhao, you do not want to mess with that pick. There really is no way to bully the Xin Zhao either. Both lanes easily able to move up if any shenanigans happen, so Yukino just going to fall back to his camps and probably just try to do the exact same thing. Path towards the bot lane. You can see his camps are his pathing is sort of leading him to go that way. But on the other side, you can see Castle maybe trying to look for something top, so both junglers on the opposite ends, just trying to make plays on opposite sides of the map.
They do have some clearing to catch up on as well. Dragon and Grubs will be the next target. The joke that every castle likes to make is the Season 14 handshake is 3 Void Grubs for first Drake. We'll see exactly how that transpires, as both these junglers will channel backs. I'm curious, we'll see real early on which one of these 2 neutrals they want to prio. It looks like Yukino heading up towards those Grubs and Castle heading down to the Dragon. I can't say it's not standard.
And both teams have a decent amount of vision in that river. I mean, you look at that topside river, there's about an equal number of wards on both teams. So neither jungler, neither team are able to really go up toward that area without getting spotted. It'll be interesting to see if Castleberry react to these Grubs being taken, as they have been started up by Yukino.
Yeah, Scuttle vision dropped right as Yukino came out of the brush towards the river, so the only way they'll know is once the first Grub does fall. Castle has opted to go clear his Gromp first, so this should be all 3 Void Grubs going the way of CCG. Crimson and Bradley have enough pressure in their respective lanes. And the speed that Poppy can get those Grubs done, they might not even have a chance to trade Dragon very easily if you're Castleberry.
Castle is on the bot side though, so he might be looking for something. Ajay ulted.
Shockwave down, still has Spelling Dispel. Good flash from Yukino. He still has the chase with this phase rush. He wants to speed up for
he
it.
missed the kill!
Castle looking for the brunt, but Bradley will find the kill. Topside, we're having ultimate strain as Castle's down to 1 versus 2. Remember, his flash is down as well, but Castle wants to fight for it. Flash for Bradley has to get away from the grand entrance as Barlow shows up first. Can Yukino find the trade onto Castle? The bailout, he has to find Castle, but he can't get close enough, and Nightstar has a second.
Barlow coming in with the clutch Rakan, the Guardian, keeping Castle alive in that exchange. They managed to find a kill onto Yukino. Castle incredibly low though, so I'm not sure they'll be able to transition that into a Dragon take, as yeah, he's just going to channel his reset. But now, 2 kills onto Nightstar. This Zeri beefing up more and more, and on a comfort pick for Nightstar at that. So, really good picks by Castleberry and getting them onto the correct members. It's just a matter of if they can get objectives to try and scale this area into the late game along with the gold it's generating.
Certainly a better spot to be in compared to the last game. I mean, yes, would you take anything besides that Smolder Yumi game if you are Nightstar right now? Probably, but he's got the Berserker Greaves down. I believe he's building towards what I would assume is going to be a Storm Razor, as I know Zeri's are a very big fan of that item. Or it could be a Static Shiv. A lot of good options.
Maybe, yeah, Zeri has a lot of options when it comes to building. It has been a kind of a nightmare for the balanced team. We have all been victim to how good Zeri, how versatile Zeri's builds are. As yeah, Kershinker Shard acquired, 2-0. Probably going to go for that Shiv or that Storm Razor, like you said, Slayer. Just continuing this early game pressure from the Zeri. And with an item like Storm Razor or Static, it doesn't matter. You do get a quicker item spike. So that could prove to be very much in the favor of Castleberry if they're able to make use of that quicker spike on the Zeri.
You see Castle is looking potentially to dive here to the top side. World Ender is back up, but so is Dominus. Geiger does not have the health here. They also don't have the wave crashing turret. Dominus popped, the World Ender traded. Castle has to walk through the turret, takes 2 shots, maybe a third is Crimson, looking for the outplay, and the dive falls flat for Castleberry.
And on the other side, Yukino managing to take that dragon, now gonna put pressure on this bot lane.
Ooh, good dash there from Barlow. But that was kind of a consolation prize because with Castle top, it was a free dragon picked up for CCG as Yukino continues to stranglehold these neutrals.
Yukino has been on the objective grind here in game number 2. Castle has been looking for a lot of ganks on this Xin Zhao, looking to impact the side lanes like we talked about in the draft, and he has done that, right? You have a 2-0 Zeri. Your Renekton is sitting comfortably in the laning phase, only about a wave down in CS. So yeah, he's done a good job, but on the other hand, Yukino really setting up for that late game, which could prove to be a kind of a thorn in the side of Castleberry later on, as they are really banking on this Zeri being the one to carry them through the game. And that is a late game threat, so to match it with a Soul could prove to be a headache for Castleberry if they're not careful.
Certainly in the game of League. Oh, is it going to hold that point? I believe that was actually picked up by Castle. Yeah, so Trevor, the first one to roam this time in this river escapade between the two junglers, drops Ignite over, great stun into the wall, and Bradley will pick up the kill, but Yukino making Castle pay for stealing his Scuttle Crab.
If you're not a jungler, you would never understand how important the Scuttle Crab is. I will just say that. Whoever controls the Scuttle Crab controls the universe.
Though? Is it that important?
It's that important for the mental.
Okay, fair enough. That handshake might be very important as it sets up an easy stun from Yukino. Instinct picks up the kill, but boy, does he have to tip his hat to his jungle support right there.
Yep, easy kill coming from the squad of CCG. They managed to punish Barlow for his overextension, and now Nightstar, completely alone in this lane, has to be careful as Bailout is available. The option to go on this area is available, but Castle is waiting in the wings, is on that bot side jungle, so could look to cover. They're not going to go for a dive instead. They're just going to channel the resets, as now Callista's 2-0, so matching the aggression and matching the gold of this Zeri.
And a bit of a gold lead now coming across for CCG as Bradley is also quietly scaled up to 2-0. He has his Seraphs completed. He's got that scaling up on top of that. Yukino right on top of these grubs, but they did roam Barlow up first. Does grab the 4th one, but you really want to try and get a 5th here. And if you're Castleberry, definitely don't want to give that one over. Trevor has arrived as well. Bradley's here first. And with the recall from Aje, it's actually going to be all 6 here secured for CCG. Yukino wants every neutral objective he can take.
You love to see it from CCG. All the members of the squad roaming up to try and get this and maybe get a kill.
Geiger has to drop Dominus just to stay alive here. Does a lot of healing, gets the Rage Bar up, but has to flash from Yukino. Crimson now running through the turret just like Castle did minutes ago. But Castle's all alone now. Doesn't hit Wind, becomes Lightning to find any slow. World Ender out here from Crimson. Likes his odds, forces the Crescent Guard out. The root pullback, will it get Crimson a window for the sweet spot Qs? No, but Yukino will set him up for it instead. Crimson on the board for CCG.
But look at the TV coming from Geiger. He wants more. He knows the members of CCG are low. He wants to kill. He wants blood.
He missed Yukino. Yukino got the recall off, and Crimson's just going to walk back around the turret. Directed camera doesn't want us to see it because Geiger can't find anything with his teleport.
And on the other side, the bot lane being pressured once again. Look at how many plates Instinct and Trevor have managed to get. This is exactly what happened in game 1. Fight to be starting.
Good handshake. Trevor holding onto the bailout. New Barlow had those dashes available. Didn't want to pull the trigger on that just yet. But you mentioned it, right? The Zeri's certainly in a good spot with the static shiv, but the gold you're getting from these plates is just so massive for CCG. They might even get first turret.
Whoa. Ice Star pops the ult.
Just to clear the wave, though. So Zeri in that powerful spot trying to get the autos down to Yukino, but Castle has to flash away after seeing Bradley. And it's just time and time again, CCG seemingly have the better numbers, and Bradley might neither have a kill as Nightstar's flash is now on cooldown.
Both flashes expended from 2 key targets of Castleberry. They have to give up this dragon. And the train of CCG Esports keeps on chugging as they now have a 4K gold lead. Castleberry, they certainly held on for much longer than game 1, but they are still down in gold, still down in pressure, still down in damage. And with another dragon spawning in a few seconds here, it's looking like CCG gonna take this one uncontested with how much pressure they have in the bot lane.
Barlow drops the quickness, but he wasn't ready for Yukino to come over. Gets the stun through the charm, and Yukino, the best friend of Trevor and Instinct, once again putting this Kalista on a pedestal.
They managed to take down Barlow, and now they probably just want to reset, go straight for the dragon. Going for the dragon, they don't want to risk any members of Castleberry potentially collapsing as all of their health bars are rather on the lower side. So they know they don't have to rush it. They know they don't have to rush it. Castleberry not really in a position to contest this dragon. After all, it is only second dragon. So free second dragon going over to CCG Esports. It's just a matter of time. But I'm curious to see, with all those members committed bot side, if Castleberry maybe want to look for the Herald. Castle's in the area.
Archangel staff nearly completed into a Saras for Bradley there. But you mentioned it, you could see the vision around, honestly, both of these neutrals is pretty dark for Castleberry. They actually have more wards in the top side jungle of CCG than they do on the actual Rift Herald, and that might be what gets Castle caught. Unless Trevor's the one to get turned on to. Good knockup's going to come across. Trevor has the bailout. He might have to drop it to save himself, but he's biding his time here. Ajet swings around as well. Great Kalista ult, and Instinct able to bail out his fateful teammate with ease.
An Instinct, a player that a lot of people had their eyes on. Hold on, Trevor might be picked.
I jinxed him. Okay, he flashes out. Trevor will stay alive, and while this is all going on, Yukino keeps the dragon stacking perfect for CCG, grabbing their second of the game, 6th overall. Instinct's getting crazy with the hops on this Kalista. But he'll stay safe as well, and this pressure still mounting for CCG. Castleberry wants something back, but Castle himself might have stepped too far forward. The Crescent Guard blocking the damage from the Kalista, but for how long? Great charm comes out from Barlow. Instinct has to flash away. He will get the kill. The Ren comes through before Castle can snipe him down, and Barlow's going to be thrown against the wall. Yukino has him cornered. Crimson grabs it. World Ender popped, and 2 more kills as CCG continue to dominate this one.
An Instinct, a player that had taken a break from competitive league for a long time. He'd played in the LCS, coming back after a year-long hiatus, and he is doing such a good job on this Kalista pick, putting up so many good numbers, so many good all-star plays. That Rend coming in clutch, managing to save his own life. But Bradley might be in trouble here.
Bradley eats all the damage Ajed has, but this Hui isn't skilled up enough to punish him just yet. Trade of ults, and it's another instance of CCG surviving a catch from Castleberry.
Managed to survive, and they also managed to get themselves the Rift Herald, and the only tier 1 tower standing is in that mid lane. So I have to imagine CCG, they're gonna look toward that area, but it doesn't look like Castleberry want to give that away for free. You can see how many members are committed down toward this bot lane. If they try to look for a trade, it could devolve into a fight. We'll have to wait and see as TP comes in from Bradley.
Yukino spotted coming over. They're going to jump the Poppy instead, but do they have enough damage? Wait from distance with the Severing Bolt does a lot, but Yukino is very tanky, has the Keeper's Verdict, he wants it, but he doesn't want to save himself. He wants to catch Castle again. He didn't need the bailout. CCG with another.
And Castle getting picked off again on the Xin Zhao. Beautiful recognition there from Yukino to hold his flash, taking so much punish from the Xin Zhao and the Rakan. He knew he had the tankiness to survive, and he wanted to continue the fight onward. And he manages to slam Castle into the ground. And they manage to find themselves yet another pick.
Bradley, shockwave up, Bradley on a rampage. It's as simple as that right now for CCG Esports.
CCG trugging ahead here. They have about a 6k gold lead, and they are going to transition that pressure of taking down Ajay into a turret taken. They didn't even have to use Herald for that. They still have that available.
Yeah, but they're looking to not use it yet. Yukino jumps in. Great double knock-up Keeper's Verdict. The bailout is going to hit both of the bottom laners, what leaves Castle out to dry. He has to flash away himself. That on cooldown constantly. Castleberry on the back foot just as much.
And on the other side, Bradley just taking that bot turret away. This 1-3-1 split was exactly what they did in game number 1. They're repeating the exact same keys to success here in game number 2. And it just doesn't feel like Castleberry have an answer to that. You can see the long con teleport coming out from Gygar on that red buff, potentially looking for a fight.
No shockwave is just about to come up, but there it is on cooldown. Bradley slams it. The flank doesn't mean jack to Bradley.
Going on to Castle as he gets taken down. Ajay, 1 HP, but will narrowly survive. But Nightstar is the next target. Crimson going to pick him up, and then going to pick Ajay up. It's a double kill coming out for Crimson, as I think we might have lost Slayer here, as I can't hear him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
For now, I will be your play-by-play. I can do this. I believe it.
Discord doesn't want me to have the hype moments, Squax. That's what's going on here.
I see.
Yeah, it scoreds me again. It is what it is. But regardless, I mean, Bradley, he just shut down that flank in a literal instant.
Yeah, literally. Bradley has been putting up such a good performance here in game number 2. Put a great performance up in game number 1 as well. So nice to see him back in the competitive scene. This player who, you know, was known for being a top laner for so long on Team Liquid Academy, now finally able to go back to his main role and just flex on a lot of these younger talents, saying maybe this old man has some new tricks. Is Castle potentially in trouble?
Doesn't get stunned into the wall. Cressigar blocking all of the marksman's damage. Yukino in the middle of literally the entirety of Castleberry. Doesn't seem to care too much. Bradley, though, gets dropped very low by Geiger. Great Keeper's Verdict. The only thing to save the CCG mid laner. And what a stun into the Shockwave. Nightstar thought he had an angle, but all he's got is a gray screen as Crimson is keeping the rest of Castleberry completely at bay with one World Ender and one more sweet spot. Nearly claims Castle, who is limping away from the juggernaut that is Crimson. Rift Herald being dropped in the mid lane as Crimson just continues to hunt Castle. Tunnel vision's on this Xin Zhao, and he's going to finally find the kill with a sweet Q3, and CCG mop up more and more of this game.
And 5 members strong, they managed to find the jungler Castle. Dead for about another 15 seconds, and that is the green light to go to the Baron. 2 members committed to it. Yukino take it particularly low, and I don't know if they can do this, Slayer. They are relatively low HP. This is the new Baron, but it looks like they'll be fine. There's a teleport coming in from Bradley.
Yeah, the Poppy passive really helping out too. There's a great shield as well. They'll be able to get it. The Red Smite can secure that from way further out than 1200. And man, early on, this looked like Castleberry really starting to find a groove, but this game is a lot more one-sided than game one ever was at this point.
Absolutely, and now it's only going to get worse. You can see Instinct making his way toward that terminus, arguably the best item in the game, and certainly the best item for marksman in the game, giving you so much mixed damage and a decent amount of resistances too. You get both armor and magic resist. So it's going to be so much harder to kill this Callista, so much harder to build against it as well. Holy
Yukino's so
Yukino.
good. He's so good at canceling these dashes, these shots over the wall. Geiger will finally get into the Baron pit, but I don't think CCG care too much as he's running on the wrong side of the rift. They're going to keep pushing top lane, claim the last tier 2 turret remaining, and they've got Dragon up as well with Baron buff in all waves. It's just smooth sailing right now for CCG, and they might put Geiger's head on a pike at the very top of the bow.
Geiger is just going to be set running. A little bit of a Tom and Jerry chase coming out here. Going to be ended by Yukino as he manages to claim that kill, but Crimson on this bot lane just pushing away. The constant split of resources from CCG is just so immaculate. It is spreading Castleberry so thin that they cannot deal with any of these threats.
Castle even struggling to get down to Trevor. He has to pop his Crescent Guard. Nightstar, that's not a fight you want, buddy. 3 levels down. Crimson get right back over the wall, trying to use the gates to help him. But World Ender, one more dash. Crimson just had to wait for the cooldowns as he goes godlike. Barlow can't find the play onto Instinct, who slips away. And this actually might be the knockout blow with a beautiful hostile takeover. Inhibitors down. CCG stalks to the moon as Castle falls for an 8th time. The roster reimagined in reality is just as advertised. CCG with a clean 2-0 as they'll punch their ticket to the upper bracket of Group C.
And the upper bracket of Group C must fear the name CCG. A clean 2-0 coming up from the newly revamped squad. They are looking to end this one here, and they are looking to end Castleberry's reign of terror on some of these higher tier teams. They'll take this series 2-0 in such a dominant fashion.
Dominant may be putting it lightly there, Coaxis, at least for the second game. Crimson and Bradley and Instinct all go deathless in this one. They all go 7-0, 4-0-10, and 9-0 respectively. And if there were any doubts that once this roster finally got put together, I think they're a bit out the window, at least up against, you know, lower tier talent thrown out by most of the committee. Obviously, they haven't taken on another juggernaut, but they certainly don't look like they have any rust so far.
Certainly not. And I mean, that was the main concern for players, you know, like Instinct, who haven't played competitive in a really long time. A lot of people were worried about Bradley potentially being rusty in the mid lane after playing top lane for so long. But this series, if it's any indication, there is no rust. They are as polished as a newly made car. They run just as well as a newly made car at that. And they are just going to continue running through the GSL stage of CCG until they meet one of those juggernaut teams. I feel like that is going to be the tried and true test of this all-star squad in CCG. So I personally cannot wait for them to meet their match. If they meet their match, who knows, honestly. But yeah, Castleberry, no match for this well-oiled machine in CCG.
Certainly not at all. And it looks like the next matchup here will be up against the winner of the Old Miss Wang's Revenge matchup. So that one, I believe, is still going on. But Quax, let's just quickly talk. I mean, we both assume that it's going to be Old Miss, who've been really one of the superstar squads of collegiate so far in that matchup. Well, what do you think about that one in the upper bracket?
I mean, it's tough to say, right? I mean, when you have a player like Shogo who's competed in EMEA for so long, he's been in the scene for so long, going up against a player like Instinct and Trevor, who have really been, I feel, the breakout stars, especially in this series in particular. You know, we talked a little bit before the stream started about how good Crimson was in the Swiss stage, how oppressive Yukino was at that. Those two players kind of took a back foot, I want to say, in this series. It really was Instinct and Trevor running that bot lane, getting 5 plates each a laning phase. And I have to think that Shogo and just the squad of Ole Miss aren't going to let that pressure slide when it inevitably probably comes time for those two teams to face off against each other. So I think Ole Miss, they have something cooked up. If I had to give it to a team, I would probably say CCG. Take this one. I'm sorry, Colomer, if you're watching this stream, but I got to root for my CCG boys. I've been casting them throughout their entire OQ2 stage, and so have you, Slayer. So frankly, we're CCG fans whether we like it or not.
We certainly are. Aegis, appreciate the raid coming over from you guys, but unfortunately we are closed out here, which means that you are going to go on a bit of a raid train. We are going to throw it over to Running the Rift, another one of the community streamers that we love and adore here. They have, we are going to go to Running the Rift. They have the other side of the matchup, Old Miss versus Wang's Revenge, which is going to a game number 3. So Wang's Revenge did take one on that side of the matchup. And I've been told that Shogo is playing Yone in the bottom lane. So, I mean, if that's not enough to get you to follow the raid, I don't know what will. Big shout out, though, Quacks. Appreciate you coming to cast with me again on the Salt Mine. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are still here past the raid, we will be back here next week with more coverage as the GSL stage of NACL qualifiers heats up. Until then, enjoy what little you have left of your weekend, and I better see you back here next weekend. Take care.